What up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. So lately, I had a bunch of friends of mine recommended this movie to me called Joyride, and not the Joyride movie that came out in 2023 of this year. I'm talking about the movie that came out in 2001, and it's a mystery thriller. It's starring Paul Walker and Steve Zahn, and it's following the story of a college freshman played by Paul Walker who gets a summer vacation and takes a cross-country trip to go and visit the girl of his dreams that he's been friends with for a very long time, and hopefully that he can be able to make his move. Then gets a detour to go to that jail to go and pick up his brother and bail him out. And it's played by Steve Zahn, and that's his older brother, and that's a guy who hasn't seen in 5 years. And he decides to have him tag along on the cross country trip. They later have a CB radio, and they were messing around with the CB radio, and his older brother Steve Zahn's character was talking him into impersonating a lovely, beautiful woman, and pulls a practical joke on a lonely trucker over the CB radio. Then later finds out that the lonely trucker that they were talking to turns out to be a psychopath killer, and finds out that they were pulling a prank on him and decides to hunt them down and get his one last laugh and revenge. And this is not the first time that the movie has been done like this before. The first film that has been done like that before was the movie called Duel, and it was directed by Steven Spielberg, which I've been wanting to check that out for a very long time. I've heard of this movie. I still have not seen it, and I will eventually check that one out. Then they did another movie like this called Breakdown that came out in the late 70s, and it was with Kurt Russell. That's another movie I got to check out. So this is basically more of an unofficial trilogy for a movie like this, even though it's not part of the continuity. And I will say, after watching this, I was so well invested from the beginning of the film. The film doesn't drag. The runtime was perfect. I was so well invested in the characters. I love the screen time between Steve Zahn and Paul Walker. I really bought them as brothers. They didn't look, it looked very believable. And I love Steve Zahn as an actor. He's been in a lot of mediocre comedy roles. They're not all great, but I thought he was fantastic in them. And he was also in War for the Planet of the Apes, and I thought he was incredible. He was such an underrated actor, and he also was from Minnesota. Fun fact, that's where I'm from, and that's crazy. It's just crazy how much I miss Paul Walker on screen. It's been like over 10 years since we last see him in a movie. It was a tragic for what happened to him 10 years ago in a car accident that died so young. He did not deserve that. It just sucks that he's gone too soon. This is one of his better performances in that movie that I've seen him in, and he's such a likable character, and he has so much charisma. He can do no wrong. It's Paul Walker, for crying out loud. I love that the fact that we don't really know much about this trucker who is a psychopath killer, who turns out that he's not just some stereotypical trucker. He's very intelligent, and he's always 10 steps ahead of them. There's this one scene in the movie where when Paul Walker and Steve Zahn are in a hotel room, and they're overhearing the other side of the wall of the murder taking place, and you just don't know what the hell's going on until you see the next morning that they're being questioned by the police of what happened to that person in the other room. Then they get interrogated by the sheriff, and it's played by Jim Beaver. We got a cameo role, the actor, which, in case you don't know who Jim Beaver is, he's the same actor that played Bobby Singer in the Supernatural show. He's not in it much, but when he's on screen, he just really crushes it, and I just wish he had more screen time in the movie. And the sheriff is just basically telling him to get the hell out of their jurisdiction, because they caused enough trouble, and they were the cause of that murder in the first place because of their practical joke on the trucker. Then they get hunted down by the trucker, and once they get close to, like, crushed through near the tree, and he interrogates them and question them, like, why did you pull that practical joke on me, and why'd you lie to me? They said that they only did it for the laugh, and they were scared shitless. And then he just pulls back and laughs at them and drives off. And just when you thought it was over, you get to, like, through 10 minutes of screen time with when we catch up to Paul Walker's big crush, his own best friend Venna, when they go and picked her up, and we start to see the development of the dynamic with the three of them together when they're in the bar, and I loved it. And just when we thought it was over, we see that the trucker is not done with them yet, and he gets a phone call from them, and now they're on the run, and they're still hunted down. And it seems like that he can predict every move that they make before they even made it. It seems like he can actually predict the future, and we still don't know how he's able to pull it off. How is he's always 10 steps ahead of them before they even make their move? It almost seems to me that they made him more of a jigsaw killer from Saw before Saw was even made at the time. And we see them there driving on the highway, and you see a bunch of signs on the graffiti and telling them where to go. And it just scares the shit out of you. And I just loved it the way it was shot, especially in the motel room. It was very lit, and you feel like you were with the characters, especially when they're in the cornfield and they're getting hunted down by him. And you see him just pulling the spotlight and try to spot these guys while he's hunting them. And it just puts you on the edge of your seat. It never drags, doesn't waste any time. It just gets straight to the point. And from the scene in the motel room where Steve Zahn's character is trying to make a move on his best friend, it almost seems to me that they were trying to tackle the love triangle and then it just went away so quickly. And I feel like that it didn't really need to be there. That was my only negative. But other than that, this film is so damn good and it's very underrated. The third act finale really got me on the edge of my seat when we see Paul Walker's best friend get tied up in a hotel room in room 18, and she's taped all over her mouth, and the killer just hooks the double barrel shotgun onto the doorknob. And if we see the two brothers try to get to the room and try to rescue her, but if they tend to open up that door, she's going to get her face blown off. It builds up the tension and the suspense. This is a guy that you do not want to mess with. He's very intelligent, and we don't know much about him, and you don't see his face throughout the whole movie. I still wish they would have revealed who that guy was and just give us a little bit more of context of who the character is. But you know what? I feel like that they wanted to leave it a mystery and not reveal it too much because they don't want the mystery to be ruined. They wanted you to keep questioning and keep questioning every time you go back and rewatch this movie again. And that was the whole message of the film, is that you should not pull practical pranks because you don't know what will happen and you will probably have to pay the consequences, and you're going to have to live with that decision. You should definitely check this movie out. I recommend it. And I'm glad that my friends recommended this movie to me. You can literally stream this movie for free on YouTube or Pluto TV. It's so good that I would definitely watch again. It's very fast paced. The movie's like an hour and 30 minutes, and you'll be able to get through very quickly. The movie flew by so quick. Now, have you seen the movie Joyride that came out in 2001? Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? And if you haven't seen it, are you willing to check this movie out? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe to my channel for more videos to come. And if you like this video, leave it a like. It's one click of a button. It's very easy. And I appreciate your guys' support. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from. And I hope you guys stay safe and take care.